here on lichess and Twitch. We're going to be doing game analysis with subscribers, in-depth game analysis tonight. Usually I'm doing this stream on Thursdays. We moved it to Friday for this week alone. Normally, again, our Thursday night stream. Welcome, everybody. Going to get started here in a couple of minutes. We've got a number of games submitted to the stream by our subscribers on Twitch. Viewers on lichess who are subscribers on Twitch can submit a game to my lichess account, Sparklehorse, here on lichess. Before we get started, let's just kill a little bit of time. I started a little bit early. Let's kill a little bit of time with a random game just to get our mindset on chess. London Chess Classic. I don't know how something could be classic when it's only been going on for a few years. But the London Chess Classic is going on. Lobby. Something has to be ongoing for a long time to be classic, doesn't it? Strange name for the tournament. Okay, 5 plus 5. I should have just done a 5-0. It would be a little quicker. Let's go, bro. Maybe he'll abort. Then we can play like a 5-0 game instead. I think I'd rather play 5-0. Played a couple anonymous games earlier on my phone. Phone isn't logged in, and I just play anonymously on there. So, the Queen's Gambit. Let's play the Catalonia. Welcome to Catalonia. Bro hater. Hater of bros. Check. And we have 3 good responses for that move. Any kind of inner position here other than the queen is probably a good move for white. But I don't mind trading off his good bishop. Prefer not to trade anything, but if I had to, I don't mind either. Knight c3, knight d2, bishop d2. Reasonable moves. All in all. Not sure this is a good move or not. Oh, he might not see it. Just kidding. He'll see it. I guess we exchange now. And black has no threat. Save to play knight e5. Maybe knight e5 is actually a threat. He would draw up a pawn here. Knight e5, queen b3, knight f3, queen f3, pawn takes d5, queen d5, bishop c6, queen e5 check. Picking off a free nugget. Last time we left, our hero was experiencing internet problems yesterday morning. At the moment, that is not the case. We resolved the technical issue. Something rather stupid on my part that I will remain silent about. So again, knight e5 isn't necessarily something I want to allow here. Let's just migrate. Maybe this is a bad move, actually. I have nothing against migration, but this particular move might be a problem. I thought bishop g4. Queen f6 is crafty, actually. She's crafty. Let's try it this way. Bro is pretty tricky. Nice move. Kind of thought bishop g4 right away was a good move, bro. But this is not bad either. Queen f6. Stray queens. Temporarily preventing him from castling kingside. He's keeping an eye on my d4 pawn. I think I had a hallucination. Ouch. So he has knight takes d4. No, I didn't hallucinate. Okay. This was the plan. I had actually stepped back a move and lost my place. So we've got to play rook d1. Rook d1 and see what he's up to. Zen Chess subscribe with tier 1. Zen Chess shared rewards to 5 others in the chat. Zenchess, very, very rare Friday night subscriber stream for me. Normally, streaming Friday mornings, but had to switch it up this week, so here we are. Spending my Friday night with you guys, early Friday night. Friday late afternoon, early evening. What's up, Zen? What's going on, man? Quiet in the chat room here. I guess people are watching the London Chess Classic. Whatever that means. Is it classic? If it's relatively new? I was going to ask you if you're playing tournaments or not. I wish I had time to play some tournaments. I would like to, very much. I don't see a problem with this move. You only played one tournament in the last 5 years or so. Wow, that's insane. And you just happen to be playing a tournament tomorrow? You might play a tournament tomorrow. I've heard people threaten to do that before. Acerbate. Where is Acerbate? He said he could be here tonight. Man, it looks kind of hard to prevent mate. How does black prevent mate? After queen a7? Can someone explain to me how that works? We're threatening queen a8 mate. He can't make a flight square at c7. There's no flight square to d8. d7 is like mate in 2 if he moves his bishop somewhere. Knight b6 check. Oh, it's not. Knight e7 check followed by queen a8 mate. So like the literal only move he has is queen a6, which is horrible, trading queens into a lost ending. No, Zenchess, we're supposed to be doing game analysis, and this was just because nobody was in the chat yet. Nils said exclam title. Yeah, actually, Nils, that is the correct title. Subscribe stream with advanced in-depth analysis. Just playing a game to shoot the breeze here while we're waiting for people to gather around the chess campfire for a little pep talk. No, it's supposed to be in-depth analysis. We fooled you, Nils. We fooled you. We've been trolling you all along. It's actually supposed to be in-depth analysis. I switched up my Thursday and Friday streams just for this week because I had to, because of personal responsibilidad. Let's just play this cleanly. Nothing fancy. I'm not going to play e3, weaken my structure, and play for a check on a6. Just castle, and we're golden with full development, pawn up, better structure. So guys, if you want to submit a game for analysis, Zenchess, you're welcome to submit a game. I think if we don't have enough games, I'm going to share one of my own games today. We've got 5 subscriber games to go over. And I might even let Nils submit a game, even though he's not a subscriber. Clash Kid, great, man. Great to see you. 26-month subscriber. You haven't been able to make the streams much lately. I'm sorry. But it's good to see you're still around. 26-month. Considered a founder. A stream founder. Better to be a founder than a flounder. Founding flounder. Are you playing chess, Clash Kid? Because I know you've been off and on with like tournaments. Yeah, my stream times have been, speaking of off and on. Well, my stream times shifted from America to Europe, so that was a major thing. And we alternate, and I'm not sure this is the best thing, but I alternate, as you know, between daytime and evening. Typically Monday, Wednesday. Friday, we're doing 11 a.m. European time, and then in the evenings on Tuesday, the odd days, Tuesday, Thursday, and in this case, Sundays, 6:30 p.m. Today is just an anomaly. I had to switch to Thursday and Friday streams because of personal requirements. 3's kind of weak, actually. Bro Hater played reasonably solid for a 1500. I know that sounds so diss to be like, for a 1500, but it's true. I have a pretty good feel for people's relative strengths. Having done this now for 3 years, constantly playing all different levels, I'm an expert in how good people are. 1500, 1600, I can tell the difference. Now, you know what I was thinking, guys, would be fun? To do like a Zen, speaking of Zen chess, Zen chess. We'll do a Zen chess stream. This is a nice, active kind of play by my opponent. Gotta respect that. He's getting kind of feisty. We're thinking of doing a Zen mode stream where, and that would, why I brought the ratings up. It would be fun to not know how high rated my opponents were and just play them. And then we can be like trying to guess in the middle of the game. You know, I mean, the problem is like there'd be a lot of people who'd be like spoilers, they would say, but if I could tell how strong my opponent was, relatively speaking, it would be kind of fun to try to see if I could possibly be able to tell how strong my opponents were. Now, I'm getting concerned with Bro Hater. He's really cagey defending this. This is not so easy. Kind of wishing I had traded all the ratings. Sorry, I'm like brain dead. Traded all the rooks. It was a Freudian thing. I might as well just trade all the rooks. At this point, black's got a little bit of counterplay with like knight f5 check. Probably not quite enough. We can calmly maybe play like king f2. But I have to be careful that my king is not a liability here. That's a nice cagey move too. Doesn't seem interested in... he doesn't seem interested in trading more rooks. Yeah, I thought the Zen mode, sorry Zen chess, you're confusing me guys with these names, but Zen mode stream would be fun. We're definitely going to do it. Could be a tournament, exactly. Yeah, probably ideally it's a tournament. The only thing is I have to be careful not to see the ratings in the lobby. I need a brain massage. He took my A pawn. He got in time pressure. Lonely. It's lonely over there. Bro ran out of gas. That's it. Alright, good game, bro. You fought the good fight, brother. Ian Hoke. So, we've got only 3 pawns, but that's more than enough. Now we scoop everything. Scoop it up. Pawns, pieces, whatever. Check, take, B pawn. Controlled the queening square. You can't stop it. Alright, dude, let's just give it up. Give it up for Bro Hater. I think a very credible game, you know, for 15-12 lichess rating. Okay, guys, so we're here to do a game analysis stream. That's the point. I mean, I could start playing video games or something, but I'm not here to do challenges today. Sunday, we're doing a simul 25 players. Clash Kid, do you have any game you could share with us that you've played? Are you playing in any tournaments? Or do you play in team championship or anything like that in Austria? I think I'm going to share at some point my own game from the Hungarian team championship, because we only have five submitted games today. Usually we're doing close to 10. All right, we're going to start with Warnacki. Warnacki's game was submitted first this week. Well, hello there. This time, and by the way, guys, if you subscribe and you submit a game, I mean, you don't have to be here to appreciate it. You don't have to actually be on the stream for me to go over the game and to take away. You can watch it later. So, well, hello there. This time I brought a special shortish game from 2004. Seriously, I like the line and I tried to play it. Any comments are appreciated. Oh no. Oh my god. You like the line for who? This game was played in a GM tournament in 2004. I don't know. It's not a game I've ever really gone over, to be honest. This tournament wasn't a great one. I think I was like -2. I probably finished like -2. I vaguely remember there was a couple tournaments that were back to back over the course of 2 years. It was Elikesh Memorial, I think. So I don't know whose perspective you want to look at this from. You want to play well, or do you want to play like me? It's Fogarashi Tibor against me. And I don't think I played the Nimzovich too many times. I had prepared this maybe as a sort of surprise for Fogarashi because I wasn't known to play the Nimzovich defense, and he's really good theoretically. He's not a high-rated GM, but he's written many articles for like New in Chess Yearbook. He's extremely strong in opening prep. So I think what I wanted to do was get him out of the Sicilian, get him out of stuff he knew like super well. But it didn't work. So Warnacki said he likes this line. I'm not sure what he means. E4, knight c6, d4, d6. I think that I like d5 best here, but at that time I didn't really play that variation. I was playing d6. But I never played... This is the only game I've ever played Nimzovich against a GM in a tournament game. Clash Kid, you can submit a game. You have to leave in an hour. You need to look through your score sheets. Okay. Well, if you find one quickly, you could still do it today. But I remember like being very upset that he played bishop e3 on move 3. In fact, it's weird because in retrospect, I'm even not sure that that's right. In my mind, he played f3 on move 3. My memory is telling me something different than is recorded here in this score. I swear I thought that he played bishop e3 after f3, but whatever. Okay, we'll trust it. These games were not played on a digital board. The scores were manually entered in. There's human error here, but I assume they got it right. So bishop e3. I was kind of bothered by this move. No one had ever played this against me before. And I wasn't really sure what to do. I mean, if I play knight f6, white then plays, I assume, f3. That's what happened in the game. What options does black here have? Like, g6. That's about it. I mean, g6, e5, and knight f6. Those are the only 3 moves you can play here. Don't even start about f5. I don't know why no one's played g6 in this position. It seems like a totally reasonable move. Maybe people are afraid of d5, but I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think this is a really huge problem. Even if black were to play knight b8, that'd be kind of part and parcel for this Nimzovich with d6. So I played knight f6, and he played... I don't know what I was planning, but he played f3. I mean, I've literally never played this. And I was sitting there, and I was like, well, g6 feels like a modern, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So I played e5, which could transpose to something like a King's Indian. You know, I guess I played the King's Indian, so at that time I was definitely playing the King's Indian still quite frequently. I kind of hoped to get Fogarashi, who's an e4 player, into maybe some kind of King's Indian type position. So it was like d5, knight e7. I vaguely remember this game. Naj Papa, welcome. Game from Hungary, 2004. This was the year that I moved to Hungary permanently. For me, it's like more like a King's Indian than a Philidor. I have no clue. I had no clue like Hodgson had played like this or anybody else. I mean, it reminds me of an old Blackburn game, actually, where he did like c6 and b5. If white plays c4, I think black has to could try something like c6. It's always risky, though, you know, to play something crazy like b5. I'm a little concerned there's like a trash compactor here with c5. So, interestingly, I don't like knight g6 a lot, and I mean, presumably you could play g6, but surprisingly, several people played c5. This guy is the expert, or he's passed away now, but Mestrovic was a strong IM from like Serbia. I'm not sure. I think Serbia, and he's got like a million games. He was like the world's leading expert in knight c6 on move 1, apparently. Lots of interesting ideas. So c5 is interesting. Anyways, so I back in the game. It was like d5, knight e7. Tibor played queen d2. So there's some random game played in 1997. So here, what did I do? I would be more likely to play, what, like g6? To play like a King's Indian. I think g6, c5, and c6, that's pretty much all black has here for options. I don't really like knight g6. Knight g6, I suppose it's feasible. I just would prefer to set up King's Indian type position. Who else is here? Astrobate, I'm glad you could make it. I know Fridays you're not always here. Thanks, guys, for subscribing. Please support the stream. If you can afford it, we could really use the support. Okay, g6, knight c3. See, this is that's funny. There's a Shandor Videcki game against Mestrovic. They had exactly the same rating. Videcki Shandor, another solid Hungarian IM, who I played quite a few times. But see, here we see Fogarashi. Like, if he plays c4, he's playing the white side of a King's Indian, same-ish now. So, being an e4 player, he's not someone who's comfortable playing like that. So he plays knight c3. I played bishop d7, and this was improvisation. I don't know, you know. Computer likes c6, and that would be a way of trying to take advantage of him not having a c-pawn to support his pawn center. In retrospect, I guess I was scared of takes, and rook d1, or castle. When this pawn is weak, but it actually looks complicated. You know, maybe something like bishop g5, more like a Sicilian than anything else now. Turkey Farm, you're very happy to see knight c3 as a Pierce player. As I said, I don't think Tibor could be comfortable with c4, being an e4 player. I mean, some GMs play both d4 and e4, but he's just an e4 player through and through. I mean, sometimes he plays knight f3 now. He's getting old, like me. He's older than me, actually. So g4, this was a nice move by Fogarashi. Very aggressive. And I haven't seen this game in 15 years, so we'll take a look. I could have played h5. Definitely. Maybe in retrospect, this was the best move. Just get it over with. If g5, knight h7, it will try to creep out with f6 later on. White is clearly better spatially. HTFP, thanks for the donation. Just saw you game in the book. Really. This is my game. Acerbate, what a coincidence. Acerbate, that's the game we're going over, dude. Alright, get with the program. Bishop g7, h4, h5, g5, knight h7, queenside castle. So here I got really creative. I mean, the routine move is castle. But I wanted, to me this is a King's Indian Zamish, and I know that I should try to like create some sort of counterplay on the queen side. So queen b8 was kind of a creative idea. I think I was definitely surprised here by white, but if you look at my knights are just in this position. I mean, I don't know what I expected here from him, maybe like knight h3 or bishop h3, but he just blasted me with f4, and this is controversial because I was like, what? I did not expect him to open along diagonal. And he just goes and he blasts it open. But you see, I'm not... Normally e5 would be a weak point in this position. I just would be able to use that square for my pieces when he attacks the head of the pawn chain like this. He means the opening book, Zen Chess, here. In Top Games, it shows the game from 2004. He's just talking about the lichess Opening Explorer. Not a physical book. It's the Opening Explorer. I think I was surprised by f4. A very direct approach, like kind of against Nimzovician principles. I mean, the bishops are fine, but I mean, the bishop's stuck at the moment. But the knights are the thing he's killing me here. My knights are just totally crushed. This is not supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen, and I guess why queen b8 is a bad move, I'm supposed to play f6. Maybe I could play it right away, actually. I mean, there's a chance to kind of break out here. If I play f6, I just don't know about the future of this knight on h7. Its only hope, would be to go back to like d7. Black's position is spatially really, really bad. So I was a little too creative. And here normally I would take on f4, but I was very concerned about that not being enough. I think I was also concerned about this. But in retrospect, I should have taken on f4, I guess. Maybe this isn't that bad. b5, f takes e5, and then b4. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing some boring chess here, I know. Tibor moved, knight e2, and then I took back with the d-pawn because I wanted to control these squares, but it's like death. It was death for my bishop on g7, but you can't have everything. So here, the idea is knight c8 and to get the knight to d6. But now my bishop on g7 is dead. So he plays well. Bishop c5. And I played a5 because my pawn is under attack. But he doesn't give me time. I mean, I would have liked to have played knight c8. Probably I should play knight c8 and just sacrifice the pawn on b4. But I'm just going to be down a pawn now. This was a nice game by white. a5, d6, ripping it open. And again, kind of a surprise. Takes, bishop takes. I was definitely not happy. And then my king is stuck in the center after bishop e7, king e7. Queen check, king e8. I mean, I think when I looked at this game, when I played the game, after the game, I don't think I ever really looked at this game again. You really should study all your games after the fact. But I think I assumed it was like a terrible game by me, and I never want that to happen again. But it's surprising when you look at this, it's not that bad for black. if I can correct these bad pieces, we have hope. It's only plus 0.7 according to the engine. Bishop h3, good positional move. He wants to play with 2 knights against bad bishop, essentially, by trading off my only good bishop. Knight f8, knight f3, attacking e5, bishop h3, and this was apparently a blunder. Who would have thought like an innocent move like bishop takes h3 is a big mistake? Apparently after rook a6 I was almost okay. Engines love the bishop pair. Well, there's no bishop pair here. I mean, this one is just... yeah, it's a bishop pair. Well, I mean, I would have liked to have brought the bishop back to f8, but I can't because e5 is dead. So that's going to have to wait. Yeah, that's true. The engine will overvalue black's position. Probably. I missed rook a6. This seemed like a reasonable move. Now knight d7, and then knight d2. And he's got... This rook is nice. The knight's coming here. And now, I mean, it seems like Fogarashi, he's in Sicilian mode. You know, it's like, wait a minute, it's a Sicilian again. I didn't want to play the Sicilian against him because he's so good against the Sicilian. And here we end up in a Sicilian anyway. He's got the rook across, he's got queenside castle with open d-file, pawn on e4. It looks like it was the product of like a bad dragon. And this is just like a blunder, apparently, rook a6. A totally natural move, though. I had to stop knight c4. I just didn't see knight c4. If I play rook c8, I'm still alive, in an unpleasant position. Perhaps I can play bishop f8 and try to kick his queen off. Or out, I should say. This is a nice move, and I'm lost. Now apparent blunder. I mean, you know what, guys? There is a small chance that the game score is wrong. I just want to, because I don't have the game score, and this is secondhand information. But I can see why I wouldn't want to trade queens. My a5 pawn's hanging. This is under pressure. So queen takes, rook takes. I thought I'm just in this like hopeless endgame after this with a bad bishop against 2 knights. I mean, it's a pretty bad position. But as the computer points out, maybe I can put up some resistance with takes. Takes, rook takes f6. I don't know. That's computer. I just assumed I couldn't go into the endgame, so I avoided the trade of queens with queen c7, and then I'm just crushed. Just crushed. I couldn't complete my development, and it's just beautiful, you know. Not a good game. A creative effort by me, but I was dead. Queen b5. Total white square domination, and it wasn't a good tournament for me. I think I won like 1 game. It was a closed tournament, 10 players. Did not do that well. I wouldn't play queen c7 these days. Yeah, I mean, I like to trade queens. But I just judge this endgame as horrible. It is horrible for black, but it's the lesser of the evils. It turns out that bishop takes h3 was a serious mistake for me. I mean, at that time, I didn't appreciate, you know, how powerful this rook was going to become in the future. So it turns out that bishop takes h3 is like handing white a golden tempo for development. Absolutely. And it just thought, on the surface, it looks like the rook is doing nothing on h3. So I thought, okay, there's no problem with that. It's sort of hanging. It's not coordinated on h3. It ends up being perfect, you know, coming across in like a Richter Rouser. This would be a standard maneuver. You've done it in the 150 attack. Interesting. So, yeah, that was a crush. Thanks, Warnaki, for... And so, apparently, according to the the Stockfish game analysis, Fogarashi made no inaccuracies, no mistakes, and 1 blunder. And I made 1 inaccuracy and 2 blunders. A lot of blunders going on. Okay, so Zen Chess did submit a game. All right, guys. Welcome to my stream. We're doing game analysis. Nefedov's up next. Let's check out his game that he submitted. Where is Nefedov? What's up, guys? Please support the stream. Subscribe. We had a donation earlier from... Who was it? It was from Save a Dog. Merle Dixon's here. Moobot is a moderator, so be careful. A bit in advance. I won't be able to send it on Wednesday. Okay, so this is this time round 3. Nefedov's tournament. The Preston Chess Congress. The under section. Pennington Jeffrey. Jeffrey Pennington against Pavel Nefedov. It's weird. Pennington has his first name second, and Nefedov has his first name first. Whatever. The minor. All right, guys. Just so you know, we're doing our normal Sunday simul in 2 days. So be here for that. Hopefully we'll have a better result this week. Last week was kind of tough, but I had a very, very tough game that day. And this time it's going to be, hopefully, not as tough a game. We want to play an old dude, and we're going to beat him and get back some rating points. Hopefully. Okay, so Nefedov here is playing black. It's e4, e5. And unfortunately, Nefedov, who's specialist in the Schliemann, it will be around this time. Oliveira Lucas, yeah, always. We're trying to be consistent with the times as much as we can, but I'm 6:30 p.m. exactly. So this is a move order transpositional thing. Some people are playing the Scotch by playing d4 on move 2. And there's also just a straight up center attack, which isn't very good for white. But again, like someone on Sound, one of our viewers, he uses this as a move order to play knight f3. And then, I mean, the only way to try to play this, I guess, I would assume the only way to play this to keep the pawn would be bishop b4 check, which is some obscure gambit, which might not be that bad for white. But what if bishop c5... They can play bishop c4, or they can play... What happens if knight takes d4? That's a trap. Kovac Gabor smacking down Max Illingworth. These Hungarians are tough. That's why I came here to play chess. Kovac Gabor H. Tough customer. I know firsthand. But... it just transposes to the Scotch. So there's really no big deal. If queen f6, bishop e3, we should transpose to a Scotch, I would imagine. Anyway, so Nefedov takes, white plays c3. Uh-oh. The Goring. Yeah, you're doing some streams on different hours. Just Thursday and Friday. Yeah, I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually in the morning, and Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday in the evening, European time. Guys, welcome to the stream. International Master William Paschall. We're doing in-depth game analysis for subscribers. Thanks, Merle Dixon. Guys, support the stream. We need your support to keep it going. Please subscribe and make some donations to keep our finances in order. I appreciate any support. D takes C. I mean, you got to take the pawn here. We've got to take the pawn here. Knight takes c3. I played this actually myself earlier this week against somebody. I don't remember the move order was the same. Is this the Goring or the Danish? It says Danish Gambit. What's the difference? They're all the same. Gruesome Goring. Aye, matey. Groveling with the Goring. The engine is claiming that bishop c5 is black's best move. And inherently, you know, it's weird to do that because the catchphrase is knights before bishops. Yeah, the Danish with bishop c4, that c takes b2, bishop takes b2 line, Clash Kid, that's like the most kind of classic Danish line. Yeah, that's recommended. I think it's kind of overrated, actually. If you want to look at that for a second, you know, after takes, knight f3, knight c6, c3, pawn takes pawn, bishop c4, pawn takes pawn. This is the wrong position, right? We're talking about this. This is actually the Danish gambit. And the funny line is this, but after bishop f7, king f7, we actually talked about this earlier this week. I think this position is actually, I would prefer slightly for white. The engine seems to like black here. I remember the evaluation was closer to equal the other day. See, the problem with rook e8 is like, what is that? Is that not there? I mean, that's not open line. That's not an open line. I mean, you got some tricks with like knight to d5, but two players play rook e8 here. I mean, all that does is like force white to make a useful move. I mean, I don't see why rook e8 is a good move necessarily. I mean, there's going to be no open file for that rook unless you have a lift. You're going to do like a rook lift. The computer suggestion of like rook d8 makes more sense. At least that's an open file, you know. But the computer is going to equal here. I don't think this is really black's best. That's the point I'm trying to make. Although this line was recommended in some books, I'm not really convinced this is black's best option. It's cool, you know, it's neat that you like temporarily sacrifice the queen and everything, but I think that's why people like it, because it seems kind of neat and cool. In reality, it's probably not black's best. It's funny here, like knight takes, knight f6 is the best move according to Stockfish. There's a lot of room for new ideas in obscure openings like the Danish Gambit, which make them somewhat useful. I think that's why someone on Sound has had success playing the Danish Gambit up to a certain level. Like this move, what's wrong with the most natural move on the board, like knight f6? Everyone is obviously fearing d5, but we could even play d5, pawn takes f6, d takes c4. I mean, there's a better move apparently, but just for argument's sake, there's a Lombardi game like this. Queen takes, king takes, pawn takes g7, bishop b4 check. This is like very similar to a game between Lebojevic and Lombardi. Knight c3. Another variation that looks good for white, actually. Infinite Flash Chess. He's here for in-depth analysis. Always give back the second pawn. No, this is apparently inaccuracy. Like e5, bishop b4 check. Of course, white could play king f1. I'm trying to remember how this Lombardi game went. I thought it was like this. Maybe here. There's actually no games at all. I mean, that's messed up. This seems like a kind of critical position for this opening, and there's 0 games that have ever been played. I mean, basically, it's like the Smith-Morra. No good player plays the Smith-Morra with white. No good player plays the Danish Gambit with white. I mean, at least in this century. You know, like maybe in 1900 it would have been an effective opening, but look at who's played it. I mean, you got Leonid Kritz when he was 2200 and a couple 2300s, and that's it, you know. A future grandmaster and some random guys. All right, anyway, so c3, nothing really conclusive there. So bishop c4 is the normal main line. Knight takes c3. So I don't know this. Wow. Nefedov totally just making this up. Giving back a pawn. Jettisoning his act, in the words of FIDE Master Charles Hurtan. Nefedov is just jettisoning his act. Jettisoning his jetpack. Well, so much for refuting the Danish gambit. Now we're just, yeah, it's kind of like doing d3. You might as well just play d3, man. Nefedov might as well do this. It's effectively the same thing. Defermian Tarjan, 1983. Tarjan. He says Tarjan, but actually it's Hungarian name. It should be Tarjan. Shalgo Tarjan. So this is some kind of improvisation by Nefedov to like give the pawn back. I mean, if white takes with the pawn, I guess he has an isolated pawn, and it's not that great. You know, we could say that black has a better structure. And if knight takes, then c6, and black has a good game. So by elimination, white has to play queen takes d5. The problem is there, black is just barely equalizing if he is. I mean, Karpov would kill Nefedov here. This endgame. This I wouldn't want to play Karpov. It reminds me of the Queen's Gambit accepted endgames. At the end of the day, this pawn, it's like a Queen's Gambit accepted. This pawn remains a center powerhouse. In black's queenside majority, it's kind of going to take a long time for that to have really much effect. So I think in the endgame, maybe black's queenside majority is something, but in the here and now and throughout the middle game, and I think John Watson talks about this in his chess book on chess strategy, the central majority is more relevant, you know, and more immediate and more important at this juncture. So white is slightly better. And I don't think this is a good choice from Nefedov. For another reason, you know, for the most part, depending on rating, but he should give himself as many chances as possible to beat a weaker player. Going into this equal, maybe slightly worse endgame doesn't seem like a really promising way to go about beating a weak player. You should give them as many chances as possible to go wrong. So you want to play a complicated opening, a complicated middle game, and a complicated endgame. If you're playing to win, you know. Nefedov was kind of lucky if this player misplayed this position, because it could be pretty easy for white to, say, draw, you know, if he plays reasonably well. Let's turn off the engine for a minute. Yeah, I mean, already this seems kind of feeble. Why does white want to trade knights necessarily? Can we play bishop c4 instead, developing a piece? Presumably, you can play like knight d5, bishop d5, c6, bishop c4. I still think that white is better here. It's a small advantage, but it's sort of lasting. This pawn is, it's cramping black's style, you know, and maybe for the next 20 moves, that will be the case. So, yes, let's see. Turning the engine back on. Bishop c4 is up there, and knight c3, strangely, undeveloping is a move. Well, it always looks like Nefedov is playing for a draw. He loves to trade pieces, you know. You'd think like both sides are playing for a draw here. And I'm very disappointed with his next move. Pavel must be concerned about e5. I know he wanted to play king take. I know I want to play king takes e7. We're concerned about e5, but bishop e4 check is just a strong move. So if e5, threatening bishop g5 check, it doesn't matter because you have bishop e4 check first, which really dictates the course of play. And now the e5 pawn becomes something of a target. Pavel should know about king centralization in the endgame. Maybe he wouldn't have ended up winning the game if he had played that way, but I still think it's the better move. You just have to find a way to make this work. This has to be, not a problem. And if e5 is a problem, then you would have to take with the bishop on e7. So, all right, that I prefer king takes. Bishop takes, bishop c4. I mean, how to win this position with black? Not easy to do. I mean, I'm freaking out already. If I'm playing like an 1800. I mean, I am not happy trading a minor piece and the queens, and white has slightly better control of the center. We can't really assume white is playing for a draw. Why do we say that? He played the frickin'... Who said that, by the way? Was that Merle? He's playing for a draw by playing the Danish gambit with white? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. I don't think we can accuse white of playing for a draw, man. That's not true. He's playing a very aggressive gambit opening with white. I mean, I assume their ratings are close. Wait, where's the tags? He doesn't actually give the rating. No. I don't lump him into playing for a draw. Castle. Yeah, I mean, normally we would consider keeping the king in the center. But I think that the e-file could be kind of dangerous here with a rook on e8. So, unfortunately, white needs to castle as well. And now knight c6. And knight c6 is not a no-brainer because the d5 square. In a King's Indian, I'm instantly playing c6 in this type of structure. It looks like a King's Indian, exchange variation sort of structure. Queen's Gambit accepted, which I don't really play, is actually the best comparison. This structure is straight out of Queen's Gambit accepted. To say what it is that... What? Alright. Infinite Flash Dish, you're still a mod, right? JCS is not here. I'll have to make new mods. You guys can pay to be mods. The new attempt to make money. Maybe some streamers employ that. Alright, here. Pay for your mod privileges. No, I'm just kidding. C6, Nefedov. This also promotes like maybe queenside expansion. You could try to hope that majority on the queenside could work. Knight c6. And this blocks the c-pawn. I'm not crazy about knight c6. Now we already have a problem. What the heck? Alright, so Nefedov, I like what he does now. But I don't know if you planned this out, man. It's always nice to pick up a new troll. It's been a while since we had a new one. It gets a little boring with those others. Nefedov now, I think he should start playing the Petrov, really. He can have like games against himself, like with the Petrov and white playing Queen e2. This is a Petrov theme, sacrificing the pawn on c7. I gotta give him credit for having guts. Chess on Earth. I'm pretty good. A little tired tonight. Was out late last night, but I'm not bad. Bishop g4. You got to give Nefedov credit for playing aggressively here. I mean, the alternative of knight a5 doesn't really look good. What's he gonna do? Maybe knight a5 and c5. Yeah, that's the only plan. So, serious mistake to play knight c6. Okay, and now he's like locked into this sort of dubious gambit. My friend Zlatko Linčić says, always take. Basically, the philosophy is, if you don't see a reason not to take it, you should take it. You need a reason not to take this pawn, not to take it. Material is important, and I often preach that it's overrated, and it is. But man, this is an end game. I mean, this isn't like some scary position where the queens are on the board and the kings are wide open and we're grabbing a poisoned pawn. I mean, it's just a pawn sitting on c7. And you can't just say, well, maybe there's some sort of tactic because my opponent is a 1900 or whatever. You know, I mean, this guy needs a good reason, so we need to calculate. Rook c8, okay. Bishop g3. Now, what is it? Bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3, discovery, right? Knight here. This is what Nefedov was banking on. But the problem is at the end of the line, like bishop d5, knight f3 check, king g2, and wherever you go, pick a square. So the end of the day would be an endgame like this. Let's see, bishop takes b7, and this slicing bishop here prevents rook b8. At this level, Nefedov went unpunished, but at my level or above, he would lose to a strong player in an endgame like this, where the two bishops are slicing up the bishop and knight, and white is up a pawn. Yeah, it was based on generalizations, but it's not enough. Not enough for black. He might have other ways of playing, not giving up his white square bishop. Bishop f6. Maybe black can survive with really good active defense. But I admit I like it better than like knight a5 or something. Nefedov gets a point for playing actively. But knight c6 is the real problem. The previous move was the problem. So this is not the game. White played this. This move should be attached with like a double question mark. Again, you need a reason not to take that pawn. It's not enough that, oh, it's kind of scary, he might have some tactic. You've got to calculate all the way to the end. Close to the end, as you can see. I mean, but this move just trades pieces for no apparent reason. White's just trading pieces. And actually, you got to realize this is not really a threat. Like bishop takes f3. The two bishops are very valuable, and those double pawns aren't such a big hindrance for white. You know, I don't think bishop takes f3 is a big deal. White was afraid of his pawns getting doubled. Knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5. Rook e8. c7 appears poisoned here. It turns out it's not poisoned because of bishop takes c7, rook c8. Let's see. Actually, how does that work? Yeah, I don't even get it. So, wow, that's an insane tactics. That's an insane tactic. So how do we not lose a piece here? Rook here, rook c7, bishop f7, king f7, rook c7, and white is slightly better. Whoops, mouse slip. I thought white would be slightly better here. But no, computer says it's equal. Okay. So, nice tactic by Nefedov. And now he's equal. We can agree to a draw now. King f1, bishop d4, rook c1, bishop c3, and then yuck. So clearly white was very concerned about rook d2 for a good reason. But one rook alone is not enough to do that much damage. f3, the bishop moves away, and you can defend with rook e2. So white lets his pawn structure go. That's a serious issue. Now Nefedov has a concrete pawn structure advantage with the isolated pawns at a2 and c3. Also, he controls the open file. This move actually allows black to buy some time. It was a good move, trading off the powerful bishop at c4. And now, only move, rook e2. White tried to be more aggressive in a way, but what does that do? Rook d1. Rook d1, rook d6, rook takes d2, rook takes d2, rook e2. Well, alright, does this work? Classic rook endgame. Right? And now what? g6. King f8. Oh, what? This is actually an interesting endgame. Very important in all endgames to defend as actively as possible, guys. Welcome everyone to the stream, subscriber stream. The point is to subscribe. Just kidding, guys. Please subscribe, though. How's our internet? We're all right? We're all right. All right. Last time I did something stupid to ruin our internet connection, but we're good tonight. We're analyzing subscriber games here. Guys, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Also, like and subscribe. Follow me on lichess, International Master William Paschall. We've got a heads-up endgame here. Nefedov with perfect structure. White's last chance for activity is like rook d8 check and go marauding. You got to defend actively in the endgame. So after king e3, White just capitulated. That's crazy. I mean, there really aren't that many moves. You know, you can't defend the pawn on c3 because rook d3, rook c2 check. It's almost like White made a mouse slip. You know, I mean, if you're going to move the king, play king e2, not king e3. He really only has rook d8 check. And then somewhere behind one of these pawns to start trying to get some counterplay. I mean, I'm not sure it's enough. Let's say rook b8, b6. Oh, rook b7. So that's a secret move. Rook takes c3. Rook takes a7. And black can hold on. Only one defense, Mr. Coffee. One defense would have drawn the game. Computer here says that black is better, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a draw. I don't see this as really that serious of a problem. g4. Possibly even h4. What's wrong with h4? It should be a draw. I mean, it's 5 pawns each. The kings aren't that well placed. I don't think the other side of black has a significant advantage here. Nefedov's opponent just committed suicide. I mean, king e3, losing a pawn with check. And now rook c6. This is a safe move. You're up a pawn with a better structure. I would have gone for rook a3 in a vacuum here. That's probably good, right? Rook a3, staying active, and you're playing king e7 next move, and if rook c2, you have c6. This is even stronger. And this is coming next move no matter what. So, I like the rook station here on a3. His lateral mobility. It's holding that pawn, tying him down. Okay, but rook c6 is okay too. Here. Yeah, white is just not an endgame player, obviously. Not a good endgame player. Nice try with f5 to be active. I guess g4? He doesn't play g4. The only way to keep it together, this powerful phalanx that's keeping black's king at bay, essentially. I mean, Nefedov has a 3-on-1 queenside majority, but it's going to be hard to get that mobilized. It's going to take a lot of work. White could have put up serious resistance with g4. I mean, the whole thing is kind of weird. I feel like maybe he shouldn't have gotten into this situation in the first place. e5. Okay, king e7. Now, can't we play like king e6 and not let that happen? We can wait 1 minute, can't we? I guess white has g4, g6, and then rook f2, unfortunately. It's annoying. We can't actually stop him from playing the f5 check. This goes to show why Nefedov should have put his rook on a3. Because if the rook was on a3 in this position, it would have a lot more range. And that white king could just be like chased around with rook a4 check. That lateral ability to check on a4, a5 would be really useful right now. Mr. Coffee, thanks for joining us. We're doing a kind of unusual stream here on Friday night, but we've got almost no viewers. Presumably because of London Chess Classic, which isn't really classic. It just called that. But why are they playing games at night? I don't really get that. What do the people do all day? Like, it's crazy. Very strange tournament. Nefedov, yeah, we're just analyzing your game. Why is the London Chess Classic played at night? Like, I think that's insane. Just so they could sell some tickets to, like, the audience or something? It's weird. I mentioned this in a previous stream, but I would rather have quality games where the players are well rested than... But that's just my philosophy about chess in general. I care about the quality of the chess. That's why I like Blitz and Rapid Chess rather than like Bullet, you know. I don't care about the audience as long as it's quality. Okay, but Nefedov here, I think your rook on a3 would have been a lot better. You see, you ended up with this rook bottled up on c6. You live 300 yards away from the London Chess Classic venue. That's new. You didn't always live there. I know. I think Nefedov's a spy. Okay, guys, so things got a little out of control here with those G and F pawns. F5. And now he's just overextended, sadly. Rook c2 and then c5 would have been good. Yeah, my time zone isn't as good. I'll have to move back to the United States. Olivier Lucas. No, I just don't stream on Friday nights, so nobody's really prepared for me to be streaming on all my regulars. A lot of people don't know I'm even streaming tonight. Rook e1 check, king f4, c5. Hopefully some people will show up, but it's never good to stream while you're parallel with a major chess event. That's the London Chess Classic, while I think not that great a tournament, is primarily aimed at like promotional value, I think, rather than great chess. Their main goal is to heavily promote it. Rook takes e5 check, king h6, king f6, and Nefedov just has too many pawns. So this is over. c4, yeah. All right, we can stop here. Nefedov, interesting game though. Knight c6 I thought was a horrible move in the opening. You have a structure that's essentially from the Queen's Gambit accepted. The d5 square is just of huge value, you know. So playing c6 takes away the outpost square from his pieces. I mean, I think it's a little like a King's Indian exchange variation. Oh, you want me to see the nice finish? All right, this is like Asterbate's gonna have a mate, a beautiful 10-move mate. We have to see the end. It's painful to watch. Oh, that's nasty, right? Queen. And it's almost the fortress. I mean, if he could eliminate that last pawn, still he'd be lost. But almost. He did eliminate the last pawn. And you win the rook. Nice. Convenient. Jim made it. Jim, I'm not normally streaming on Fridays. I'm surprised you made it at all. but we had to switch up the Thursday and Friday streams. I'm competing with the London Chess Classic. I don't care, guys, even if we only have 20 viewers. Whatever. This is my subscriber stream. I'm here for you guys to do your games. So we've got... Actually, Jim submitted a game. He knew about it. Olivier Lucas is up next. Thanks, guys, for subscribing. Jim, Merle, Asterbait, Nefedov, Olivier Lucas. Supporting the stream. This is a very exotic... Sorry. Oliveira's first. We'll just call him Lucas because that's his first name. All right. So there it is. Lost it. Back again. You have time on Thursday to take a look. Oh, you want me to take a look at the final position of this game? I thought it was equal, so I've sent a draw offer for computer evaluation. You sent a draw offer, but computer evaluation fluctuates between 1 and 0.8. Do you think I could have pushed for a victory here? It's actually a boring game. All right. I'm trying to adjust to this position. You are black, and you are facing a monster protected passed pawn on e6. Whoa. That is not really a good thing. So, let's see this. I'm going to turn off the engine, go to the end, King h7, and the computer is giving us an evaluation, but I don't know if that's based on his phone or what kind of strength Stockfish is calculating that 1.6. I mean, first of all, material is equal. You're paralyzed by a powerful protected pass pawn at e6. But white is cut off with his king, and he has to keep the f5 pawn protected. It's a curious situation. I mean, yeah, at first glance, it's just like, yeah, it looks like black is not better, right? But it's a strange situation. So this is like a unique position. I agree. No, c5 is sort of the only move, right? It's easy. There's no other move, you know? It's just a question of c5. c5 and probably just creating a passed pawn with d4. But I don't know. I would think like a lot of stuff would get liquidated. c5. White needs to make a waiting move, like rook f1, or maybe king h6, actually. So let's say c5, rook f1, or let's say king h6, and you could look at maybe some b4, but my assumption is that you're going to go d4, create a passed pawn, he takes. If you don't have anything fancy, you take back, and now the pawn is isolated. But maybe, yeah, this is a weird game. It's just nothing he can really do. He has to go after the pawn. You take his f pawn. He has to take the d pawn, and then you don't have to take this pawn. Very important point. This pawn is dead meat, so you could actually play another move if you wanted to. The only problem is it doesn't look like you have a really better move. Because anyway, he's going to play rook b4. But at the end of the day, you know what? Maybe he is lost because his king is cut off on the 4th rank here. Because his king is cut off here, your f-pawn is going to promote, and he's actually in a very bad spot. After king e6, let's say rook b4, trying to tie you down to b5. Now you need to find a way to make progress. Not sure what that is. Maybe even king f7, ironically. Nah. How do we make progress now? I mean, let's say rook c5, king g6, king e5. King h6, f5, king g5, rook d5. I mean, let's get to this position and see what the engine says. Still, it's okay for black to draw. Excuse me, white to draw. I'm not sure about how good my analysis is. Let's see. So rook f1. What did I give here? So king h7, I gave c5. Is there a better move? No. c5. Look how it goes from 1.5 to 1.0. c5, rook f1. I also gave king h6. Not sure if it matters. d4, cd4, cd4. Rook d2. Apparently rook d2 is an inaccuracy. You can play rook f3 and wait. Alright. This is a better move. d3. That's better. Then takes here, takes here. It doesn't really change the situation. White can liquidate more pawns. b3, rook f4, ba4, ba4. And so you end up in this situation where he's cut off. It is a strange situation. Yeah, you definitely should have played for a win. I mean, it's far from easy, but it's easy to assume. I mean, I can forgive you for offering a draw. I mean, you sit there and you're like, wow, this guy's pawn is just brutal, you know, on e6, and my king is in a bad position. But it's just a queer position. It's just a strange, odd situation where he's paralyzed. His king is actually, it looks active, but it's actually cut off. Yeah, so rook g5, you have clear advantage. And it might be a win, it might be a draw. All right. Easy to miss that in a blitz game, though. You know, normally the protected pass pawn would guarantee white the advantage in equal material rook endgame. I mean, if his king was placed anywhere normal, anywhere at all, you know, even h4, you would have no business playing for a win. But because he's cut off, he's actually cut off by your rook. Both, you know, on the side and on the file and on the rank. It seems like it's clear advantage. Yeah, there's no risk at losing. Of losing. What's up, guys? What is up, guys? Where is everybody? All right. We've got no viewers. Is anyone on lichess? There's like 20,000 players on lichess. Nobody's watching my stream. What is this? Let's see. There's another Crazy House stream. There's 42,000 players on lichess. Everyone's watching the London Chess Classic. Next for lichess, sadly. All right, whatever. I'm not going to be disappointed. Let's go back to analysis. We've got to have your support, guys. Tell your friends about the stream. People are lazy. They don't want to analyze. You know, they don't want to do serious analysis. They just want to play bullet chess, and it's not going to make you a better player. I promise. Playing bullet chess is not really going to make you a great chess player. I think that this stream is much more constructive than watching the London Chess Classic or playing bullet. Percy Hepworth is here. Okay, guys. Olivier Lucas is done. Jim just arrived in time. JCS is here. What is it, Friday? I never stream on Friday at this time. Jim. Mr. Jim. Exotic and erotic chess with Jim 884. What's the fastest time control that makes me a better chess player? 3-0, I would say. There's really no reason to play faster than 3-0, you know? I think the 3-0 can be constructive, But I think that you're pushing the envelope when you make it 2 and 1. It gets silly. I like classic blitz with like 5-0, but I think 3-0 is okay. I should do some collaborative streams someday. Yeah, it's something I should have done a long time ago. I agree. I'm just too much of an independent. Get out of here, Jim. You have to time him out. Well, Coach, 3 minutes is enough time to think, and it doesn't go to what I would optimally recommend, but the question was, what's the fastest time control that makes me a better chess player? And I think that you can throw 1-0 out the window, 2-0's pretty much the same, but I think when you get to the point where it's like 3-0, you start to be able to play vaguely quality games. I think that's one of the reasons why the FIDE time control is getting faster and faster. Just suck. The end games are getting worse and worse, even at the highest levels. I mean, what's the point of 90 game and 90? The game and 90 FIDE time control with 30-second increments. Already, like, there's no time for players to play good end games. We might as well just play tic-tac-toe, Play speed tic-tac-toe, and it doesn't matter, I mean, that's what you get when you have, like, rapid chess and stuff. It's like, what's the point now, if all the games are going to be rubbish, like they're bullet games. But the answer to the question, in my opinion, is 3-0. I would draw the line there. A lot of people have different opinions. Okay, this is an exotic line that I decided to use in recent simul. I don't know if this is losing by force. It get tricky. My opponent was under tremendous time pressure. Imagine that. Tunisian king. Yeah, I don't know Eric Rosen. Never met him. I know he plays the London system. I don't find it interesting. But you can't hold everything against people. I'll try to be less judgmental. I'll forgive him for playing the London system. E4, C6. Sorry, guys. I got beginnings of a cold. E4, C6, D4, D5, E5. Bishop F5. Knight C3. Old school. I think that Jim and Morales get together for like analysis sessions or something. Remember Morales was playing this against me? The old school advanced variation. This is basically gone out of fashion. The main reason this has gone out of fashion is because of E6, G4, Bishop G6, 92, 97. Am I in the right position? H4, is this the right position? H4, H5, Knight F4. I feel like I'm in the wrong position. All right, this is normal. This is normal. This is normal. And now C5 is normal. Oh, H4, okay. Yeah, this position, H4, H5. Yeah, but there's much more to Gada than the London system, man. That wasn't even his main opening. He just is like all the other people. He never used to play London. He liked the Tory attack best. That was his favorite. The old Gada. But Gada also plays E4, man. He plays mainline Sicilian with white. It's like Rubinstein. It's okay to play the London if you play other stuff, but if your whole game is based on playing the London, then I think you're boring. It's like, Jack is a dull boy if he plays only the London system. If you're like Gada, you play the open Sicilian with white, you play D4, you play the Tory attack, you play the London system, and Rubinstein played E4, D4, mainline queen pawn stuff, and closed queen pawn openings, and not only the London system, but the London system, the Tory attack, the Colley system. You could just like go down the list, and that is a guy from 100 years ago who was one of the best players in the world. I mean, you got to expand yourself beyond one opening. I mean, it's just, I can't stand it when people play like the London system with both colors, and that's the only opening they play. It would be like, I would quit chess that day, and that would be the end of it, You got to mix it up, exactly. And it's good for your game. I mean, you just stagnate it. There's like Cyrus Lakdawala, not to pick on someone, but I mean, That guy is an IM, and he plays like the Slav with black, the London system with white, the Carol Khan with black. I mean, you're basically playing the same game every single game. Stephen Muhammad used to play the London system and the Slav. If you play the Slav, the London system, Carol Khan, every single game, I mean, imagine how stagnant you would get. You would never play any other kind of like open positions or anything interesting. But anyway, what I want to say was this variation, I mean, c5, h4, this is what happened to this. h5 happened. h5, knight f4, and bishop h7. I was showing this to, ironically, one of my Carol Khan students. I don't know what's up with my engine tonight. It's not very strong. It's like really... I think this variation almost like refutes the entire system for white. You know, so you're going to have to reinvent the wheel here to make this work. I don't know what you're playing after c5, Jim. Maybe bishop e3. But there are serious problems. I mean, this is why nobody plays knight c3 anymore. I think you have to go to the modern. Move to the modern with bishop e3. I recommend it to Astrobate to play like bishop e3, knight d2. Insane in the membrane with Roger in Stain. Kasparov played that line for white, exactly. And Magnus, you know. But Kasparov recommends this stuff, you know. He's talked about it. I don't like knight c3. It's not good anymore. All right. Maybe it can be revitalized somehow. e6, g4, bishop g6. What kind of move is that? Knight h6. I would play it on move 1, but I don't like it in this position. Vera Lucas, good question. So Lucas he's asked this question to many people. He says, I've asked the question for many different people, always get different answers. Should one play different openings or learn deeply a few in order to get better? Yes, it's a great question. And obviously there are different schools of thought. I think like in general, it's good for you to expand your horizons and especially not get too narrow. But if you're like an absolute beginner, if you're like 1300, it's a lot to learn, you know, multiple openings. Maybe 2 is better than 1, you know. I think like 2 systems is probably a good place to start. And you don't have to play like e4 and d4. Maybe d4 you play 2 different variations. Like I recommended for Mr. Coffee to play at least 2 things. Gives you a different view of things. You don't have to play like 10 different openings. I mean, just not to get too locked in to like one thing. I see that a lot of people, they get really locked into one thing and they don't have any creativity. When you start relying on memorization, you lose touch with creativity. I've seen this with a lot of strong players who are really, really good in memorizing opening theory. They absolutely lose, you know, their creative side. And I think that's a huge fall, you know. And the other thing is if you rely too much on memorization in the opening, you have to what are you going to do when you know, someone plays something you haven't really prepared? If they did something off the wall, you know, you left to your own devices. So I think like 2 or 3 things is ideal. And as you get better, you can be like Magnus and play everything, but probably 2 or 3 different systems is the ideal. The more you play, the better you are, the more you can add on. But I think to have more than one thing, not to get totally fixated on one pawn structure, one system, it's just really limiting your creativity. I actually made mistakes during my chess career as a serious player where I would mess around too much, switching what I played too much. And that's not good either. You know, I think that oftentimes I wasn't faithful enough. I didn't stick with something long enough to really master it. So there's the trick of finding a happy medium there. But I think for beginners, like 2 systems would be ideal. 2 systems with white, 2 systems against e4, and sort of 2 answers to d4. That would be a really solid way to start. So let's see, knight h6. I don't get this move, not even vaguely. I mean, it's not like I'm not concerned about bishop takes h6. Just that in particular, if white is to just play h3, I already don't really like black's position on just a simple h3. So also inhibits the h-pawn, which might be very important here. H-pawn, very important for the movement of that bishop to be able to come back to h7 in a lot of variations. Knight h6 is horrid for black. As you can see, like, no one ever played. Oh, there is one game. This random 2300, I've never heard of. Could be a correspondence game, but I kind of doubt it. The engine actually says h4. Wow. That's another problem. h4. Also connected to the lack of mobility of said h-pawn. Damn. So computer found an even better move. h4. Knight takes g4, h5. Some sort of gambit continuation. h4, knight takes g4, h5, I presume. Oh, this is interesting. And you go after his bishop with knight g3. Very interesting continuation. Obviously, knight h6 is bad. I would rather play it on move 1. So you play knight f4, which looks okay. Sorry, jumped ahead. Knight d7. Hello? Hello? Is it me you're looking for? This knight is... The only point would be to go to f7, but here? With a knight attacking e6, that's not going to happen. Oh man, this is a catastrophe. Now we're facing total disaster. Bishop e4. We're losing a bishop. f3. Black, on the verge of losing a bishop, played c5 to... How is this going to not lose a piece now? We're going to take on d4 and distract white from focusing on the c2 defense. So h5, which is the obvious move played by Jim. MW Lost is now following. We're trying to pick up some new viewers, guys. Please follow me here on lichess. Donate, support the stream. I've got a challenge. I'm not really taking challenges tonight. We'll see. We're doing serious analysis. h5 logical move. Computer recommends bishop e3. Well, I mean, the thing about bishop e3 is that it defends d4. So now you renew your threat to actually win a piece with h5. That makes sense. Right. So white managed to slightly make a slight inaccuracy, and he's not trapping the piece now. It still looks good for white because you're messing with his king, but unfortunately that knight suddenly has a reason to live. Man. So it just worked out for him. And it looks like queen b6 is a problem. That's the tragicomic part about this game, Jim. It looked horrible for black, but you found one variation, pretty much one of the only variations where his knight on h6 actually made sense. Unfortunately. So knight takes e6, and now he played cb2. Ouch. So I was only looking at queen b6 first. Actually, so queen b6 should be considered too, though, right? There's bishop b5. Jim had it all figured out now. I'm not sure. whether you play c takes b2 or queen b6. I would be lazy and play queen b6 here. I don't feel like sacrificing a queen unless I have to. And I'm threatening to win a piece with pawn takes pawn. So, what's up with this? Why? I mean, this is like a little simpler. Either we take this or we take this. And we don't have to sacrifice anything. Presumably, that's good for black too. Apparently not. Knight f8. Yeah, that makes sense. Knight f8, we take here, you can just sacrifice your bishop. Okay. Yep, you're not actually winning anything with c takes b2. So this is forced. Threatening bishop takes. Actually, what are we threatening? It's not that big a deal. Okay. You have to take. It's all forced. He has to take. You have to take. He has to take. You have to take. I guess. And then it looks vicious. King d7, queen d5 check, king e7 is probably the game. Obviously, the position completely spiraled out of control for both sides. I like to have control. Jim doesn't necessarily like to have control. He likes fun, crazy positions. Zen Chess is right. It looks like queen c3 is really strong. But apparently, it may not be that great. Like check, I'm assuming king e2. I mean, white could sacrifice the rook on a1 with check, but I find that hard to believe. We're going to see rook h3 again, like the first game. I have a feeling, like my game with Fugarashi. So the engine claims that queen b4 check is better. I'm not sure I quite appreciate the difference. Because you have queen e4 check. Okay, so the point is that he still can't play queen d2 because queen e4 check drops a rook. It also defends d5. It defends d5. So Zen Chess was on the right track. Queen b4. You still have to play. Actually, you're kind of mildly screwed here. Could you play c3, queen e4 check? Doesn't really matter. What is happening now? King e2? King e2 just drops a rook. I mean, what are you supposed to do here? Queen e2, queen e4 check. King d1. I mean, this sucks. We're losing that. So how strong is queen b4? Queen b4, queen d2, queen e4 check, queen e3. This is the analysis. Now, I mean, I'm not assuming that we're playing queen takes queen, but it's a move. I would first have to look at this. But black apparently might have to fear castle's queen side. I mean, this is a really important variation. And it's not obvious, you know, that this is better for white. Unless you calculated it. You know, this is absolutely key to the whole position, I think. That this position is good for white. Even though he's down the exchange, it's not obvious, you know. That's sort of pivotal, I think. The fact that he would have to exchange queens here with queen e3, queen takes e3 check. And he'd be happy to exchange queens. So he has to go in this endgame. e5 looks done. White has all isolated pawns. It's not a fast Friday. It's a fast Thursday. Yeah, we just switched Thursday and Friday. Today is Thursday, tomorrow is Saturday, and yesterday was Friday, if that makes sense. This looks good for black, kind of. If I get the e5, you get the d5, but I have a slightly better structure. Not enough better for black, though, to win. It's like a draw. Good to see you guys, too. Someone on sound, welcome. You missed the Danish gambit already. I evaluate this as equal. I had a similar game I lost against Morales. I still think Morales and Jim are secret analysis buddies. They seem to play the same stuff. But I had the theory that they were the same person, like Merle and Uber Driver. Black can actually play king e6 and try to hang on to that d-pawn. Crazy. Castles queenside, king e6. Oof. I mean, I would have looked at this. You'd think with a centralized king and a monster knight that black would be absolutely fine. White has 4 isolated pawns. Black has a monster knight on e5. He has his king centralized. The computer gives white a serious advantage here. Wow, like rook over b6. And the problem is what? Bishop h3 check? Man, that's brutal. Rook h5. But after heavy analysis, Stockfish admits that it's close to equal. It is equal if black defends perfectly. Bishops are better than knights. That's the opinion of Stockfish. I guess it is pretty limited here. This poor mighty knight is going to have to go back to a very lame square at d7. And that sort of takes all the fun out of everything. Now the rampaging rooks rule the day. Anyway, it would have been approximately equal. So what happened in the game? Queen d5 check. So black did the unthinkable. He took on d7, allowing queen d5 check. And then I don't understand the next move. Where I come from, when the opponent has a white square bishop, we put the king on dark squares. And when the opponent has a dark square bishop, we put the king on white squares. But I think I figured out, Jim, what your opponent was thinking. He thinks that if you go back to e8, you're allowed to castle. Or he thought he could trick you, like in Zalakaros 2 years ago, when Pragdanathan's opponent illegally castled after moving his king already, or moving a rook already. I think he thought he can castle after king e8 next move. But I mean, I'm instantly playing king e7 here. No, I'm just kidding. The truth is, guys, no. The truth is that he has nasty problems. I mean, queen c5 check. This is maybe already black's lost. I didn't see it at first. It's obvious. Maybe he even didn't see it like me, and then he realized too late how strong queen c5 check is. In a blitz game, I might have missed it too. Because if you don't have queen c5 check, black's completely fine. Well, at least he's probably fine. Yeah, this is disaster. He has to put the king on the white square. You would think he would just be lost in this position. It's unbelievable that he's not. Totally done. Check, king f8. I expected queen c5 check, but again, there's no clear follow-up after king g8. That's the miracle of life. Jim couldn't find enough. He played rook d1, and we go into an endgame. And again, this knight is not so mighty. Bishop is stronger than a knight. Oh my god, you're black. The whole game I thought you were white. What? Why didn't somebody tell me? Jim donated 1,000 bits this week, by the way, guys. 700. today. Is that right? I didn't even say thank you earlier when Jim donated 700 bits. Thank God somebody crossed the 1,000 barrier. I was getting depressed. We didn't have anybody to 1,000 this week. I was sad. But now I feel better. MW Lost subtly drinks a bit of wine. I'm subtly drinking a bit of beer. Because we are out of wine. I'm sorry, Jim. It just seemed more in your style to play white in the advanced Caro-Kann. All the time I thought you were white because it was just like aggressive and that's how you like to play. And I like your E4 game better than your B3 game. So all this time I've been wrong. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The position is the position. The Tunisian king is an IM. Is that right? International Master Tunisian king from Tunisia, surprisingly. Juicebox Wizard, thanks for subscribing the other day. Okay. Tough endgame, man. Your knight doesn't have an outpost. It doesn't have a support. And your king is cut off on the 7th rank, more or less. Your rooks are out of the game. I would say this is lost. Just about lost for black. But obviously it's going to take good technique. I can't say castles is a move I would conceive of. Unbelievable. Unbelievably weird move. I mean, it's not like you're even threatening rook e8. I mean, there's no danger for his king here. And your rook has all these squares. It's already on an open file. Guys, it's all about bowling. Rooks like to go bowling. And both rooks are fully bowling here. Does anybody here play Plants vs. Zombies? Remember the classic Plants vs. Zombies? Whenever I see rooks on open files, I have this Plants vs. Zombies thing where I start to kind of remember those, like, the mini game in Plants vs. Zombies where you, like, roll the walnuts and knock down the zombies. I mean, rooks need open files, and these are where they're meant to be. I mean, the rooks are placed well. So by castling, Tunisian king misplaces his rook. I mean, he's putting his rook from a powerful square onto a closed file from where it will get forked when he plays rook e1. And by the way, like, his g-pawn is hanging. It's almost like he made a mouse slip. Castles. Just next move resigns. Timed out. Yeah, I mean, that's weird. I guess he was in time pressure. That would explain castles, guys. I can't really explain it in any other way. Why an international master would play castle here. Just because it was funny to play 20 castles, I guess. But rook h3, rook h4, rook h5, any of the above. Any sort of active move. Okay, rook h4 is no good because of knight f3 check. I mean, is knight g4 a threat? Because hypothetically, if you play knight g4, there's a rook just landing on d7. Astrobade mega cheered 1,000 bits and shared rewards to 25 players in the chat. You got an emote, thanks. I got an emote thanks to Astrobade's mega cheer. Wow, man. You're the best. And Jim's a close second. Alright, man. We got a emote. What did we get? Let's see what our emote is. Where is our emote? It's a ha-ha present. Alright, there it is. Seriously, that's a weird end to the game, Jim. I mean, no, he lost on time. It was like a fast simul. Yeah, rook d7, and it's anybody's game. Honestly. I still think that black is probably worse here. Pawn, schmon. Your king is cut off on the 7th rank. You've got no rooks, and bishop's stronger than a knight. I'll take white here. I predict he'll at least win his pawn back with interest. Hey, he is, the IM made by winning a major continental tournament. Oh yeah, I mean, they have that for many, 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 many years. FIDE has zonal tournaments all over the world. So, I mean, typically there's IMs from Africa who are like maybe weaker than typical IMs. They're rated like maybe 22, 2300 instead of more like 24. Okay, okay, he's not really an IM by rating standards, like, but still, even if he's only 2200, I mean, this is still a move that he probably wouldn't make. Let's say, even if he's just a 2200 master, random candidate master, say he's a CM, not a really legit IM. I don't think that you can justify castles unless you're just in really bad time pressure. That's a horrible move. What's the eval here? Plus 0.1. Plus 0.2. Yeah. I agree. I mean, white is just better. I would be very happy to hold on for a draw here if I were black against a strong player. All right. Interesting game, Jim. We've got a little bit of time left. WJ Loof and Zen Chess still submitted games. For a little timeout, I'm going to accept this challenge from Rustik Bobak if he's here. This isn't rated, right? Better not be rated. Casual Blitz, he's not here. They even have GMs for like 2200? Yeah, I guess. Not that many, though. Never mind. All right, let's go back to analysis. I tried. WJ Loof. So, this is great. So WJ Loof submitted this game here. WJ Loof versus DC55B. Blitz Chess. I just want to say that the Rossalimo is a good system for white. This ain't no Smith Mora. I mean, it's a seriously good opening for white. And I've been playing for like 20 years now, the variation with D6. I think it's just about had it. I think this variation is almost impossible for black to equalize with D6. Basically, in the Rossalimo, I think there's only two moves which equalize, and basically they're like G6 and E6. Maybe, I don't know this line well, maybe Knight F6 is okay. This is the one variation I know the least about. I never really kind of fully understood it. You know what thought popped up in my head? Here's something that popped in my head yesterday, in fact. I was going through a Spanish book, a book on the Spanish, and it was talking about the bird's defense to the Roi de Pez. And I was thinking, you know what? I mean, the bird's defense to the Roi de Pez isn't a great system, but if you play that, how many people are going to be well prepared for the bird's variation of the Roi de Pez? I mean, maybe top grandmasters. But if you really, really prepped it as like you knew every variation, you knew it really, really well, you could probably do all right. You'd be too predictable at some point, though. You couldn't play it all the time. But as a kind of thing you play once in a while. But I was thinking, okay, I know this has the same reputation. Like 94 has a bad score. But I was just wondering, how bad is this for black? I've never seriously analyzed this. I mean, I know the score is bad, but if you think about it, the bishop's a little bit misplaced on b5. I mean, that's almost an automatic tempo. So I figured like c3. Anyway, I know this move has a bad reputation for black, but it might be worth looking into as a sort of surprise weapon. Maybe knight d4 isn't as bad as people think it is. It would be interesting to investigate it. Anyways, okay, knight f6. Most people play knight c3. And you know what I don't know, and it would be interesting to find out, is what's the deal with like bishop takes c6? Caruana Nakamura. Bishop takes c6. D takes c6. The e4 pawn is under attack, and pushing it looks overextending. So white, by default, has to defend the e4 pawn. So let's say d3. I don't really like black's winning chances here. Yeah, g6 is the best move, Olivier. I mean, it seems like g6 is the best move for black. e6 is also okay, but I think a little more strategically complex for black to have to figure out how to play. That's called the Chebanenko variation, where black plays e6 and like white takes on c6. Kasparov has actually analyzed that. Kasparov. This would be a nice safe way for white to play, and I'm not thrilled with bishop g4. I'm surprised. It looks like a Roy Lopez exchange variation, except obviously black hasn't played e5 yet. Let's see, knight on bd2, knight d7. All right, this is worth looking into. It's worth looking into as an alternative way for black to play. So your opponent did, in fact, take on c6. So knight c3 is vastly the #1 move. And I've seen this. This has been played by Anand. I mean, this has been featured in some high-level games. Even in the last years, I've seen this. Jim, what about e5? I have no clue. It's a reversed English. Why not? Yeah, sure. You could play e5. I've also never analyzed this line. I guess this is a main line. What am I thinking of? Yeah, I've occasionally seen games in this line, now that I think about it. Yeah, e5 is interesting. Sure. You can play them all. Alright, so bishop takes c6. I think this is the most safe for white. Yeah, now we have the situation. The situation is that this bishop may or may not function. And the danger for black here is that one of two things happens. Either this piece never plays a role in the game, it never really gets out, and it ends up being like horrible in the way and interfering with black's development for the rest of his life. Or B, choice B, is that ends up like d6, e5, and your pawn structure gets smashed. Like you have to play like d takes e5. Black ends up with isolated, doubled isolated pawns in some variations with c6 and c5. Either black ends up with some sort of really retarded pawn structure or a bad piece on c8 that just can't really function. That's why this move is so much better for black. The threat of bishop g4, resolving the question of that bishop, is assured. It will get out and play some sort of role, and at the very minimum trade itself. The white would be better. Like if you played that line we just looked at, like d3, bishop g4, h3, if black takes on f3, you're not going to have a fun rest of the day. You know, I assure you that black is not going to really enjoy this. There's really no active chances. White will remain better, you know, in a slightly better position for the rest of the game. Bishop h5 is more enterprising. Okay, anyway, but also riskier. So b takes c is like a dubious move, I guess, theoretically. Of course, they're Hungarians. Played both these guys. Strong, solid FM players. Okay, so majority of people played d3 here. I mean, it's not obvious that that's necessarily the best move, though. I mean, e5 seems reasonable. Fedoseev, Benjamin Bok-Vescovi. So some good players have played this. Steam Express. It's not enough to be Hungarian. All right. But oddly, that's the one game here. Christian Kerek against Balázs Martini. Martini Balázs, former teammate of mine. He's a London system expert. Let's see. So d6, and now the point is you can't really let black play e5 here. If he plays e5, he has a reasonable position. And knight c3 might end up not being great. You might regret the fact that you can't play like c3 and d4. So essentially, you see here, there's two games with h3, but I think that black's okay after e5. You know, I don't see a problem. It seems okay for black. I like black's game, actually. No way to break this up. If you can't break up that amoeba, I mean, I like this structure for black a lot. So this is like mandatory to play e5. And that's what I'm talking about. If black has to do this, Garcia Palermo, you can do it, but you have to play like with insane energy in order to survive with a structure like this. You know, I mean, it's just going to be nasty, you know. You got to have very, very good tactical chances to justify that pawn structure being shredded like that. I mean, that bishop on c8 isn't clear where it's going, what it's going to do. This is a really important move. You must play e5. And I like white slightly. Black played knight d7 in the one game where this happened. Kosenseva with white. So if you do something like this, it may not be that bad. You know, black can keep that structure like that. That's not so bad. That looks like a Lego. It's an L-shaped Lego. That's not a problem. Immediately someone on sound starts going, Rudolf Spielmann on us with e6. Computer just laughs in your general direction. Of course, that's something we have to look at, but it apparently doesn't work at all. All right, f takes c6. Thank you for another large Lego. If you step on this Lego, your feet are going to hurt, I assure you. No, I mean, e6 is a dangerous motif in the Rossolimo, and especially in the variations that I play with d6, but this particular position isn't great. Belozerov. My Russian professor was named Belozersky. Thank God she let me pass Russian in college. Castles e5. Ugh. Please. This is the second worst move I saw today. Oh, it hurts my eyes to even look at that move. Dude. That's a bishop. You know that's a bishop, right? It's a pawn. It's a pawn. It's crazy house. He thought it's a pawn. We'll put it on b7. This actually makes black's position worse, you know? A Russian master taught me when I was a kid. Actually, this position is a good example. This piece is developed from its original square. It's actually developed. I think Korchnoi is maybe one of the best players in English you can ever imagine, you know. I mean, he would find ways to like transfer the rook laterally across here. That bishop is developed as well as it's going to get developed here. Just leave it on c8. That's not your problem. That's a terrible move. This is... It's essentially in English. That's what draws the Korchnoi reference. Korchnoi, massive English opening player. Black is basically playing in English, if you will. And it just makes me think of maybe something like a5, rook a7. This might play laterally and we'll never move the bishop at all. We don't need to move the bishop on c8. You know, maybe to a6 if you had a really good reason to put it there. But I think the best is just leave it where it is. Actually, bishop g4, is a move. If you're going to do something with it, maybe you trade it off. But the proper move for black here is e5. Hikaru Nakamura against Abasov, and I like black. h3 doesn't look like a great move. I'm definitely thinking black's fine, objectively. Stockfish is not feeling an advantage here for white, and neither am I. Alright, so white missed the golden opportunity. This is a horrific move. d3, another opportunity to play e5. I still think you should do this. Only good things can happen if you play e5. How about some a5? a5 I don't mind here. But maybe not just yet. A little bit later. Ugh. Just resign now. After e6. This is exactly the worst thing that black can do. Put a bishop on b7. And now let your pawn structure get shredded into 8 million pieces with e5. This is the poster child for the worst possible way to conduct like the black side of the Rasalimo. It's a horror show. Nimzovich, 999, no name won from this position with white. I mean, once in a while Nimzovich might lose in a simul game, in like 1 in 1,000 games. This is a horror show. Black is just strategically lost in this position. You actually did e5, but you waited too long. Okay, bishop g5 is not a great move. You don't really want to trade that piece off. I think that's a good b. It's not clear where it belongs, though. I'll give you that. We don't really know where this belongs. Maybe d2, maybe e3, maybe f4. We'll see. But, I mean, this move just defines the whole structure. That's it. Black is, like, strategically lost. I mean, almost lost. I don't like your chances after this. Once I lost to Tony Miles, I remember, in a banter game where it wasn't a bishop on b7, but the structure happened. It was on c8, and he did e5, and I just wanted to resign right away, Somehow I allowed that to happen. Maybe it was even this time. Maybe I even played knight f6 and let this happen to me. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but it's over after e5. Black here should probably still play e5 like a tempo down. I would prefer to play e5, even if I have to like waste another move. Maybe h6 isn't so bad. But thank God you played e5, because it's your maybe last chance to do this. So that's it for the structure. There's all sorts of neat ideas here. The computer's looking at knight e4. But let's just keep it simple. Destroy his pawn structure. This is it, man. Knight e4 is tempting, but you know what? What you have to keep in mind, this is a pretty damn strong piece. That's a killer. But it's not enough to justify that. Black has one extra pawn in this position, but no, he has one minor piece missing. So, not good. Not good. This is awful. Black should just resign. Resigns. Here I wouldn't go on any adventures. Just businesslike. Queen d2. That's a strong move. Knight e4 is a strong move too. It's not going to win itself. I'm like, okay, black should resign. I'm sort of tongue in cheek saying that black should resign. Black shouldn't literally resign, but it's an awful position, and it is horrible. But it doesn't matter. Like, put it wherever you want. Put it on a6, put it on b5, put it on c8, put it on d7. It doesn't matter now. It's on a bad square forever. It's never going to play, dude. This is straight up Nimzovich. It's killing. It's dead. This is what Roman used to do in the Grand Prix attack. It's over. You don't have a bishop. There was a game, I think it was Lutz versus Computer. I don't remember. He killed the opponents. One of these human versus computer matches in the 90s. The bishop the computer didn't understand. It didn't understand that it was lost strategically. And it took him like 80 moves, but he beat the engine in a position like this. Very good anti-computer position. Let's see, knight g5, h6, knight e4. Yeah. It looks like we lost some time, but it's probably not fatal. So c4, your intention is good, but it's not a good move here. It's actually a serious positional mistake. Again, the intention of getting rid of that strong knight on d5, the intention of fixing that doubled pawn on c5, in some scenarios, c4 might be a good move, but this is not it. I mean, black just played rook d8. You're going to be facing really nasty pressure on the d file. I would probably play something like queen c1 if I were white here. Get my queen off the diagonal. Excuse me, that's a file. Off the file. Control this diagonal. Play. Many different things are possible here. I mean, you could even undouble his pawns with like a3, b4 and have a huge advantage. We're lucky after this move, it's going to be hard to get in a5. You know, ironically, I mean, even the other rook move might be better. It's still ugly for black, man. This is horrible. All right, so this is a huge blunder. Knight f4. You just started hanging stuff. You can still protect with rook e3. It's okay, but you got to admit that black's going to start gaining counterplay here with like f5. And you're a long way from winning the game. Black's got all this pressure along the d3 pawn. So c4 was a terrible, terrible move. And this is just a tactical mistake. He just loses the exchange. So we get to a funny position now where white should be lost by every stretch of the imagination, but still the bishop remains like so bad that I almost wonder if white could somehow save the game. Bishop a6, hopeless. You know, you should just lock it out with b3. That's like a piece down. I think your practical chances in a game here are still existent because of the non-existent piece. Okay, rook c8, not a good file. I don't like that move. You don't want rook on c8, and you don't want your bishop on a6 or b7. Yeah, but now he has another rook d8. Oh my god. b3. You can see the writing on the wall here. Yeah, black completely missed the boat. Now you win back the exchange. You're just back to where you were, basically. We're back to where we were. We're just dominating positionally. Black has no piece. It's Lutz versus computer. Rook takes f8, knight e4. Exactly. It was like Lutz versus Fritz or something from 1998. Maybe 2000, I don't know. This is like an engine. There's your a5, Warnacki. It's just crushing now. At the end, he never played a5. Yeah, here you have even stronger moves. Just prevent e5. Back to Nimzovich now. Oh, over. Again, he should try to play like maybe c5. At least he could open the long diagonal and pray that something would happen on the long diagonal. This endgame isn't going to save black. You know, even if you traded queens, it wouldn't have been saving. And he just lost everything. Okay, so there were a lot of slip-ups, but we learned important strategy concepts in this game. You know, and the number one was to play e5 as soon as possible. The entire strategy here, after b takes c, becomes this bishop must die. It must not breathe. it has to become completely confined. If you confine the bishop on c8 and you get control and you push e5, black's going to have a hard time surviving in the future. All right, guys. Instructive strategic position. We have one more game to go over. Zen Chess, Master Zen Chess. Thank you guys for supporting the stream today. Astrobate, Jim, with 1,000 bits this week each. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for keeping me alive. Unlike my opponents, I mean, your opponent's light square bishop. Not alive. Okay, Zen Chess. Zen Chess may or may not play a tournament. Astrobate, did you submit a game? When is your game, Where's your game, Astrobate? I forgot to put Astrobate on the list. I didn't know he was on the list. Oh, I missed it. No, I missed Astrobate's game. All right, here we go. Sorry, man. Can't forget Astrobate. He just donated 1,000 bits. Warnaki, thank you. 150. All right, Astrobate. Thanks for reminding me, Jim. I totally missed him. When I was going through the list, it just eluded me. All right, so Astrobate is white. E4. Astrobate is black. We're not going to make the same mistake we did before. Astrobate is black. It's 0 in defense. I know something was wrong there. Interesting. Bishop c4. So my opinion here is the same thing about playing bishop c4 against the Sicilian, or any kind of flexible opening, like where black hasn't played e5. Yes, some unsound. Even, I'm sorry to say, the hillbilly attack, not really correct. So if black can play quickly e6, you're not really going to be able to justify this. I don't think this is a good idea. Bishop c4. The only place where it's useful is like after c5, knight f3, d6. If black is going to play a Sicilian where he's played d6, it's not too bad here, because black would have to play an extra move like e6 and d5. The other day we saw a game, or I had a game where someone played it against like knight c6. Yeah, one of my games. I'm actually really surprised. There's some legitimate players who have played this. I mean, Chichak plays this all the time. That's a weird opening, but surprising to see that Bakro and Fedoseev actually did this. Yeah, that is surprising. Probably rapid chess. I mean, it's just not really a good move. Maybe it's a mouse slip. He meant to play bishop b5. Alright, it's still not that bad if White is careful. He just loses his opening advantage. But here against the Owen, it's the same thing, maybe even worse. Black will be able to play e6 and d5 at the right moment. And even if he doesn't play d5, I mean, just play e6 and the bishop's diagonal is dead. Yeah, you don't have a6 and b5 like you do in the Sicilian as much here, but you probably will eventually. e6, Astrobate, good move. d4. So, I wouldn't rush to play d5 at all. Good move, and then, oops. So, Astrobate actually... we had a discussion not that long ago about positions where White plays d5. And we did see some games where Black was countering in a lot of positions with c6. This idea of playing c6, however, would be more effective in a situation like, let's say this. Okay, we played just straight up d4, just straight up bishop b7, and straight up d5. We were talking about this kind of situation, not with bishop c4, but like White just plays d5. And like c6 is an interesting answer. Even though no one's actually played that move, I think it's interesting to attack from the flank. pushing, the c pawn and trading it toward d5, rather than this sort of knee-jerk reaction of e6. Or, knight f6 is one other variation we looked at, was like knight f6, bishop d3, and c6, which looks really strong. My friend Mayado Trivino played, my bingo buddy. Very competitive bingo I've been known to play. Canary Islands. All right, so bishop d3, this is not the game. Bishop c4, bingo, e6. I never did get a bingo. Bishop b7, d5, knight f6. Oops, there goes your center. There goes your center. So you don't want to take here with the d pawn. Let him trade queens. If white could play e5, his position would be okay. But you're hanging everything on bishop takes g2. I had a recent game and a correspondence chess game here on lichess. It was St. George. It's still ongoing. Where that structure happened and I had to play like knight d5. I don't really like that, but in this case, bishop g2 just wins. So I'm not too concerned about e5. Oh, he did that. This is what happened. Oh no. Perfect. All right, now let's stop and think. The rook is actually trapped. So you don't automatically have to take on h1. You could play g takes f, probably. I mean, even though this looks mental, even this position, I've had similar situations in the St. George. Even this position is probably good for black. But okay, let's see. Take with the queen. It's not going anywhere. Nice patient move, Asterbate. Because you could have played bishop takes h1. I mean, there's ways this could go wrong, I guess. Let's see, bishop g5 takes. This is kind of scary. Are you going to go out for a walk here? Oh my god. So, what are we going to do? We're going to go king f7. I see. So let's check this variation out. Queen h5 check here. Bishop takes f6 check. King takes f6 check. Queen h4 check. King anywhere. King f7. Queen takes d8 and then bishop e4 check. It's like the Danish gambit trick. We just give up the queen temporarily and then win it back. That's not a problem. All right. So e takes f6, queen takes f6 is okay. Bishop g5, just give away chess. I don't know about that move, Asterbate. I think that's about the worst move we've seen here. Is more frames than usual? I don't know. No, this is normal. The cam quality seems really good. I think maybe my internet was worse and I fixed it or something. Maybe just like the last stream or two, I was dropping frames, so quality seemed worse. I think it's like back to the way it was. That's all that you're noticing. We're just back to normal. The where it should be. The where and the why. Kind of like our viewership here. We've actually got a few viewers. It was horrible the first hour. Nobody watching. How could you miss this? Bishop g5. What? Master. I think he got ahead of himself. He meant to play queen h5 and then bishop g5. Anyway. So Asterbate made no mistakes. Make no mistake. This is just pure showing off. I would not think twice about taking the bishop on g5. Asterbate just wants to be fancy with like these funny captures on g2 and b2. It wouldn't be funny if you walked into some kind of freaky mate here, It's sort of close, but no cigar. I can't even see, actually. I mean, the freaky mate would be something like you allow the queen takes g6 check. You know, this would be the ultimate helpmate. How to allow that to happen? You know, you're up 17 pieces. You get mated with bishop on g6 and bishop on g5. See, accidents happen. They could happen. Play for the crowd, yeah. No, it's called playing to the crowd, playing to the audience. So what did you do? g6, queen h4. Sensible move. Greedy today. Yeah, just take. Always take, Astrobate. Always take. Take and castle and develop. And he did get a threat of mate in 1, but it was short-lived. So Astrobate, even after all of his greedy material grabbing, what did you say you got for this game? Nice mate. Nice mate. Center pawn lost 25 with no inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Astrobate, did you analyze that with your phone or something? Has anybody else seen, anyone else seen this where 00025 center pawn loss? That's the highest center pawn loss I've ever seen for someone who didn't have an inaccuracy. I think you set an all-time lichess record. That is literally the highest center pawn loss you can have. Your iPad. I've never seen anybody with a center pawn loss over 24, 25, 0 inaccuracies. Normally it's around 10 or 15, maybe 17. But 25, because he made all those fancy captures. Zen Chess is up next. HTFP, if you want to submit a super, super quick game, I can take a look at it for 5 minutes. Alright, this is Zen Chess. I asked him to submit a game. He may or may not be playing a tournament this weekend. For the first time in 5 years. That's a long time. Even I don't know that I've ever gone a year without playing. Well, maybe tournament, but I definitely always had rated games. Alright, so this is imported by Zen Chess. Wait, what are we looking at? Alright, so was there any commentary with this? I have a lot of good games to analyze. Haven't played much tournaments recently. This was in the Omaha City Championship in 2018. Didn't record all the moves in the end, but I managed to find safety on the king side and won. What's the final result here with that PGN? Does it have a result? I guess it's just implied. I haven't seen the final position. What is this, a draw? I guess it's a draw, kids. Alright. Oh, you won the game later. This isn't the complete game. Managed to find safety on the king side. Alright. Doesn't, actually, Infinite Flash Chess was here earlier. He played doesn't he play the 2 Knights game? What's it called? The 4 Knights game? Whatever. I'm trying to gift a subscription to my own channel by accident. Alright. I like this line, G3. There was one time I saw a funny game. This guy played, Alexander Ivanov played this Gleck variation against some guy who sacked his knight on e4. And Ivanov, this game here, Ivanov versus Sate Husari. Husari now. I call him Husari now. So Husari now sacked the knight and Ivanov was hyperventilating and stuff. He was totally freaking out. It was a game 60. This is funny. That was a funny game. You better know what you're doing against this. This is actually sound. It's a much better version of the Halloween attack, yeah. Ivanov retreated both of his knights. Knight takes e4, d5, knight c3, d4, knight b1, e4, knight g1. It's ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe that he did this, and he ended up winning. It's crazy. I mean, Black has a huge initiative here. He was hyperventilating and freaking out like he was having a heart attack, and in really bad time pressure. Some other people have done this. Good players: Mikhail Zaitsev, Holy Woly, and Sabo Gergo, a young Sabo Gergo from 2001. Anyways, knight e4, you better be prepared, kids. So, bishop c5, Igor Glek. That's happened before, probably. But Ivanov, I think the people who show nervousness on the outside are actually more likely to be calm inside. He did it against me too. In fact, one time I was playing Ivanov, and it was the same situation. He was in time pressure. He was freaking out. He was like rocking back and forth, and his clock was like hanging, and it was almost comical. You know, I looked over, and a friend of mine was like watching the game from this few feet away, and he smiled at me, and I started cracking up. Like, I just couldn't contain it. Ivanov was like turning purple and hyperventilating, and it was just somehow funny, and it was really rude, but I didn't mean to do it, but I couldn't help. When someone cracks a smile, and you just can't help. Like, the situation was so absurd. We're playing a game, and the guy's like hyperventilating. I just started laughing. Like, I couldn't help it. Like in class when one of your friends tells a joke or something. All right, HTFP. I drew that game, I think. I was almost winning. HTFP, thanks for 100 bits. Never laugh in class at your teacher when your friends smile at you. Wow, this is really weird. I would just assume you would play h3. No, he didn't even notice. The guy was so... No, he was so focused on the position and literally hyperventilating that he didn't even really notice that I was like kind of laughing. He just... his mind was just too focused on what was going on the board. So he basically tuned out everything. He tunes out everything. But it was really... I didn't mean to be rude, it was just... It just came out, I have never seen this before. Roland Schmaltz versus Romanishin. Two great players. But I would think here White would want to play h3. You'd want to play h3 first. I mean, most people... The expectation is to play bishop h5 and then play knight a4. I could be wrong. Maybe you have a better idea than me because you know the system better. But I would think, why not make him put his bishop on that crappy diagonal out on h5? As I tell people all the time, I think this is like almost always bad in any kind of e4 opening. You can't say every rule is always true. But in 90% of cases, bishop g4 in e4, e5 positions is usually a mistake because that's your good bishop. He has pawns and dark squares. He doesn't really want to trade it off. He actually could, though. Probably that's Black's simplest continuation here. Actually, Igor had a game. This is called the Black variation. Igor has a game against my old friend, Bela Lengyel, who literally lived down the street from me until he died like 2 years ago. Lengyel Bela was a good guy. Glak Bela, this is probably like Berlin summer 1991, something like that, or maybe Budapest Spring Festival. Sad. Yeah, so Bela managed to draw with bishop takes f3, but White is going to be slightly better, and I think there's f4, There's 2 bishops for the long term. It's like a King's Indian attack. I like white here. Also Timo, who's a good, solid FM. All right, knight a4, knight d4, c3, and we simplify a lot. It's a little bit too much simplification for white to really have an advantage, unfortunately. White has the space advantage, but he's given up so many exchanges that it's just not much, you know. Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen, you know, maybe squeeze this. We've got a little bit of juice left in the position. Magnus Carlsen. Queen d7, knight takes c5, d takes c5, bishop g5, queen e6 I was expecting. So he played more aggressively. We can't be affording that. It all makes sense. The king obviously doesn't feel completely safe here. So you got a serious consideration in this position about playing rook d1 maybe. You're thinking about learning e4 as white and e4, e5. Yeah, I mean, I think it's classical openings are a very principled approach. I think it would be good for you. It's like what I said before. People who play just one opening all their lives are really limiting their creativity and overall understanding of chess. I mean, the best is if you can play everything, at least for a time, you know, and then settle in on. Even if you only played e4 for a year or two, it would probably have a good impact on your game in the long run. This king position here on c1, you know, obviously slightly exposed. Looks like a correct game by both sides, though. Like the engine here says queen f5. I wouldn't have thought that's a big deal. b3. Whoops, there goes some weaknesses. Black is not a fearful player. Oh yeah, it's starting to feel like a Queen's Gambit exchange variation. Yeah, I feel like at this point we just have to admit we don't really have any advantage. Queen f5 was like my type of move, but I'm not that thrilled about it, actually. I'm not that thrilled. I just don't think white really has much here. Just have to mark time. a5, the best move. There you go, Warnacki. He missed it. He missed a5 in this position. But I wouldn't think a man who was afraid to play, you know, who wasn't afraid to play rook d6, rook b6, you know, would be afraid to pull the trigger on a5. You might as well play a5 if you're willing to play rook b6. He's clearly aggressive, you know, attacking with very few pieces on the board. Yeah, white was a little hesitant. Black probably massively changing the position now with c4. That approach with the a5 would have been better. No, so the whole thing like stabilizes, and Black's sort of temporary initiative evaporated, and now it's like equal. I would say it's just pretty equal. I mean, there is the structural thing, but that shouldn't be a big deal in a queen ending. You know, maybe in a rook endgame, or if it's Rubinstein, you're getting king h6 in a king and pawn endgame. I mean, just agree to a draw. That's what I would do. I love a5. Good flank move. Suddenly white has the better king, though. That's the key to queen endgames. King centralization. The art of the queen endgame is centralizing the king, getting the king active. It's your only other piece, right? So it's got to really count. h4 is good. Get the king active. Is this going to be a problem? Queen a3. He's going to try it in a minute. Black appreciated king safety. So what's up with the king and pawn endgame here? Would Hu Yifan lose against Magnus Carlsen? What do you guys think? I just can't believe that Black is lost in this king and pawn game. Is it true? That one weakness is enough for Black to have a lost position? Right, there's two possible results. It's either a draw or Black is lost because of this deformity in Black's pawn structure. My instinct is that it's a draw and that Hu Yifan would lose against Magnus Carlsen. I'm just joking. There was this like weekend a couple years ago where she lost almost all of her games. There was one like dead drawn king and pawn game she managed to lose against Carlsen. It's a long story. I knew someone named Carlton recently, and so I sometimes say Carlton when I'm supposed to say Carlsen and say Carlsen when I'm supposed to say Carlton. But it's a draw, probably. Black needs to be precise, and I don't know, maybe he was trying to win, so. Black under the false impression that he's better. It should be White's better because of the better structure, right? Little initiative there. Speaking of Carlton and Carlsen did me in with this A4 push when we played, ironically. King E2. No, not B5. It should be A4. But obviously, Black was concerned about limiting the mobility of his own queen, right? After A4, B4. I'm a little dyslexic when I get tired. There's C5 at some point. Maybe not right away, but at some point he can play that move. But you can see why Black would be reluctant to do that. That's pretty crazy. He has to play H5. He probably only looked at this position, looked at C5, and then... Actually, I don't see anything wrong with that. The engine's like H5, the critical space advantage. I don't know. I think Black's okay here. It's a draw. But clearly B4 is weird. It's still a draw. Even I could draw with Magnus. But the story with Magnus, and the reason why this is significant, I'm going to explain to you now. I thought I was the only one in my life where I was playing Queen and 7 against Queen and 7, but it looks like Zen Chess has managed to accomplish the same. It's a very rare ending. I mean, Queen and 7 versus Queen and 7. But in my game with Magnus, it was a bigger island. I had like, how was it now? C4, A2, B3, C4, and then I had like E5, F4, G3. So I had a vortex. This was the vortex here and here. With White, my structure was H2, G3, F4, E5, and A2, B3, C4. And Carlsen had the same break on the queen side with A4. He was able to do that on the queen side and then like H5, H4 on the other side. So he did like a double lobster crab sort of pincer thing on both sides to the point where I couldn't hold it, like he was clawing me on both sides of the board. It was impossible to defend. Here there's one claw over here with A4. But I think without the dual claws, Black is only one weak point to really penetrate. Anyway, should be a draw. What did you say? Did you go on to win? We had a quick game from HTFP. Did you submit it? Yeah, save a dog. E45, knight f3, knight c6. Anderson variation. Columbus variation. What? I didn't know there was a Columbus variation. You move the king side to the king side, so you move the king to the king side so it was safe. You were able to attack some stuff. That sounds like far-right propaganda, if I've ever heard it. Zen chess. That's, you're like mansplaining how you how you won in a drawn position. I was able to move my king to the king side and attack some stuff. No, I'm just kidding. He's got king h6 or something like that. Is that what you're saying? You're able to do the Rubinstein king penetration to h6, and you literally walked your king all the way over to the far right on h6, literally on the far right. Is that what you're saying? You attack some stuff? Okay. I didn't see any stuff to attack on the queen side. Maybe on the king side, the h7 pawn, or those isolated pawns in f6. But realistically, it's a draw. I mean, of course we can lose any position. All right. My position against Carlsen was much more difficult. You know, those 2 breaks was too much for me. Manuel Senor. Guys, we're late. I have to go soon. So just a 5-minute look at this. e4, e5, bishop e5, bishop a4. Quiet variation, d3. Bishop c5 is critical. So it's basically a Spanish that's more like a Joko piano, I think. And you're reserved here. I mean, black can play b5, but again, I don't think you have to play b5. I don't see why. You need to weaken yourself. I had a game actually just like this against somebody on the stream where I was black. Yeah, bishop e6. I mean, I admit these closed positions aren't easy to play, but this is going back to what I said in the earlier stream, like, bishop is developed where it is. I mean, you don't really need to move it, you know? I don't know what black should do. I mean, there's b5, maybe, to try to put the bishop on b7. There's just probably the best, I would say, would just be like retreating your bishop back to a7. Make a prophylactic move that's useful in every scenario, you know? Bishop b6 is kind of weird. I don't know. You could get hit real hard by a pawn advance in the center. You might get hit by knight g5. There are some downsides. Bishop e6. The only upside would be maybe playing h6 and trying to play d5, which is kind of controversial. D Wildman is now hosting us. Wow, nice. Bronstein Bishop? What is that? Yeah, this is, wow. This is subtle. Very subtle. That's old school. The old school cheap shot school. Bishop takes h3. They never saw it coming. Obviously knight g5. I mean, I guess on knight g5 you have the subtle plan to play bishop d7, and you're like the Matrix Reloaded. Is that seriously gonna happen? That's kind of cool. You can like back off, and then you're like, back off. All right, h6, and now I'm gonna sack my bishop on h3. Maybe. It's kind of funky. I'll give you points for creativity. Maybe you should take on c6 and play d4. Change the game. You have to give up your center. And still, I mean, it might be possible to sack the bishop. I just hypothetically wanted to look at this. Just if you could sack the bishop there, would it do anything? Coffee house chess, classic. Not enough. But I definitely award you points for creativity, Save a Dog. And I know e4, e5 is not your thing, so... The entire setup is aimed at the sacrifice, bishop takes h3. But he didn't do it. He didn't pull the trigger on the devastating bishop takes h3 that the computer claims is equal. So the true correct result was a draw by perpetual check. So like take. What about d4? It's not. Okay, so that's it. The computer claims a draw by perpetual check. Check, king f1, check. King g1. You have the guts to put your king on e2 or not. White plays for a win. But that's a lot of pawns now. I guess bishop takes c6 in between move. And another in between move. And another in between move. And another in between move. Very unclear now. This is anything but a perpetual check. I mean, I certainly would have tried it, in a blitz game. I would be much more circumspect in a tournament game or something, but alternatively, I guess you could play like h6. Probably not a bad move. Maybe just this. Normal move here. I like rook e1 in general. I mean, it's kind of discouraging d5. I feel like that's your only plan, like b5 and d5. I don't even know how you're going to do that. Your only plan is essentially bishop takes h3. All right, so knight e7. And this is the whole point of the slow Joko piano, as played by a lot of top grandmasters now, is like the delayed d4. That's why it's strong. You were screwed here. I mean, black just looks like he's going to have to give up the center. I mean, you can't just lose your e5 pawn. You have to take on d4, surrender the center, and then retreat your bishop. And white's going to be better. I mean, he has a strong center. It seems like it should be favorable. You have to be very careful when you decide to play knight e7. But look, definitely you need to play bishop a7. I mean, that move, you don't need your bishop to be on c5 so it can get hit with tempo. You got to play bishop a7 first. Then you can consider playing knight e7 and knight g6, like in a Joko. Don't worry about bishop g5 so much. I was worried about knight g5. So he just ignores it. Knight f1, knight g6, but now it's... yeah. Apparently bishop g5 in this particular position is actually good. This is toothless. Classic Joko piano, like bishop a7. This is fine. I think it's fine. Schlechter liked to take with the f-pawn in such structures, but I mean, I don't think you want to do that with the rook on e1. It's okay to do that with the rook on f1 and the file. JCS, take care, man. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great weekend. So knight e3, c6, knight g5. I mean, this is a closed position with 16 pawns on the board. I don't think bishops are necessarily better than knights, so we're not terrified of a knight takes e6. In fact, I might take back with the f-pawn in this particular position. Savadog elected to keep his bishop, which is probably reasonable since that knight is going to get kicked away anyway. Bishop b3, h6. And you got the strong knight on f4. And now you're threatening nasty bishop takes h3. The threat is bishop h3, pawn takes h3, queen h3, with threat of knight g4. We'll take twice on h3 and then play knight g4 to undermine control of g2, so we can give mate on g2. Black has the upper hand, emotionally, in this position. And then whammo. Now he's like a tempo down. Now he's going to have to play knight e3. And now you have knight g4, and that's what I'm talking about. Removal of defense. And simply, what's he going to do? Queen d2. Drops a knight. There is no move. All right. It was awkward, but you made it work. I had another message here. John Miller. Listen to your comment. Oh, I have some 009 game. 009 game and 0025 game, John Miller. A 0-0-25 game. I should go, guys. I'm going to take a quick look at this. But just 5 minutes. I really have to go. John Miller is a strong player. Master strength. Playing black here. But 25 center pawn loss. I want to see someone else achieve Aster Bates. 0-0-0-25 center pawn loss. Anybody can have 0-0-0-9 center pawn loss. How can you have no inaccuracies and 25 center pawn loss? Okay, so this is something really odd. I mean, basically black plays everything in the French. You know, you could probably do h6. You can do a6 whenever you want to. I mean, I could go into a discussion about the advanced variation. I've said many times how, you know, Kasparov doesn't consider it, or didn't consider it really a critical test of the French. Sveshnikov loved to play it with white, but objectively shouldn't be a problem. But this is a bit unusual, 97. I'm not familiar with it. Something to take white out of book. Played by Tigran Petrosian. Interesting. And Vagagnan, who's a huge French expert. So it has a good pedigree, even though it's a strange-looking move. Knight f3, b6. Bishop e5 check. Typically, white will play this in some positions to draw the bishop out to d7 so that it can't go to a6 in certain lines of the French. That's the basic idea. But I don't think it makes sense unless black is forced to do that. You know, in other words, it really just doesn't have a logic unless we have to play like bishop d7. We can play bishop a6 now. And these guys from 2002 had that exact game. So I expect you to play bishop a6 here. And you have a standard kind of French. This I did not expect. It almost looks like black's opening up position prematurely. I'm a little bit scared, like white might have something here. Who knows, you know, c4. What happens if like c4? You never know. I mean, if the position were to get blown open, black's a little bit caught with their pants down in this position. Tactically, it doesn't look like the computer is afraid. So c3, and actually we've got some games. Funky knight maneuvers. The French. Always easy to analyze a French defense in 5 minutes. Castle, bishop a6. So we actually transposed to a few games here. I played Kiryakov in a French. I was white in a classical variation that was a draw. a3. To control b4 is the usual methodology. White wants to grab space with b4. I don't really play the white side of the advanced variation. I mean, this makes sense. You know, black's playing for the long haul, and now he can safely keep the king on the queen side. There are variations with c4 in the mainline advanced line. I would think like white has a space advantage on the king side, but now black will hope to keep the king over here in the long run. He actually doesn't do that though. Knight a5, knight on bd2, knight on bc6, rook b1, bishop b7, rook e1, and now you castled, which is sort of not the way I would play the position. It may not be bad, but it reminds me of a friend of mine, Adrian Casillas, who's a national master, American, Mexican national master, and he would typically keep the king in the center of the board. He might even go like king d7 in this position. But maybe the best thing to do is to keep flexibility, you know. I think you should keep your options open. Flexibility is one of the most valuable things in chess. I mean, the ability to castle on either side keeps white guessing. So probably we want to exploit that for as long as possible. Castling kingside commits yourself. You don't have to commit yourself here. So maybe this is a fancy move that Adrian would have played, but objectively, like the computer wants to play queen d7, keeping all options on the table. You might also play like h5 creating like a spider web. You can go h5, g5, and expand on the king side. I think this limits black a little bit as far as black's position is solid, but his opportunities are more limited. Knight f1, knight b3, knight g3, b5, and now it's obvious. We're going to just break on the queen side and create a target in the white structure. Very straightforward positional play. So white has some space on the king side, but he's unable to really mount an attack without his good bishop. It's kind of like trying to checkmate white in a King's India in classical without a bishop to sacrifice on h3. White doesn't have a way to attack h7 really. Slow, and we're just too fast on the queen side. Gets the feeling that black has done this before. And there goes that pawn structure over there. Isolated. Target on d4, target on b2. Again, white had no threats. Without the bishop on this diagonal, he had no mating attack. So it all looks really good. But it's very systematic, you know. It's not like it was that difficult. Black's done this many times, you can tell. Methodological French player. Now we have a protected pass pawn on c4. So take your time. He mounts more pressure on the base of the pawn chain. This is why I like trading light bishops for black. Yeah, I mean, that's why I was saying like maybe white has some radical move like c4 to change the whole story of the game, because that happens in some lines. So this was over. You pinned him and win it, pin it and win it. You know, like the famous variation, I had this with Hikaru, one of my only French defenses ever when I lost. Hikaru made his final GM norm in a tournament where I lost to him like 15 years ago. It was even longer. It was like 2003. But anyway, we had a game where I played this line with like bishop d7, knight f3, you know, queen b6. And in these lines, black plays bishop b5, but what ends up happening is some sort of c4. You know, white doesn't just let black settle in and fix all of his pawns on the dark squares. The critical move disturbs the equilibrium. I mean, it feels like that should be the same case in this game. I mean, somehow, after this b6, whatever, bishop a6, white needs to find a way to change the course of history here, so that it's not just this very rudimentary strategy of I put my pawns on white squares, trade the white square bishop, and then beat you with that standard break on the queen side. So if he could play c4 somehow, if he could find a way to change the game, you know, this would actually be a move, the plausible move for white, so that we don't end up with all of our pawns fixed on white squares the rest of our lives. All right, the equus on a6 and c6, not looking so right just yet, but they might settle in. Yeah, I mean, the knight might get into c7. It might be able to get through c5. It's usually tricky to get it into the game from a6. Anyway, guys, that's enough for today. I got to take off. We're going to be doing a simul stream on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central European time. So be here. 25 players Sunday. Again, thanks to JCS for being here for as a moderator. Mr. Coffee, appreciate you guys. Mr. Coffee was kind of quiet. He was here earlier. Anyway, thanks everybody for showing up, and we had some interesting games. I actually didn't get to show my game, which I was saving if we didn't have enough, if we had too much time, but that was not the case. Mr. Coffee, thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, interesting games. I will be back on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. I'm going to get some sleep. See you guys later. Normally, this stream is on Thursday, just so everybody knows. It will go back to our normal schedule next week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are in the morning, and Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays are typically in the evening. Take care, Coffee. Thanks for helping out, man, and JCS as well. He's already taken off. Have a great evening, guys. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Sunday. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Take care, guys. Thanks for chilling with me. I'll see you on Sunday. Take care.